Check 1, 2, check, 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 check. Yeah, I guess. Well, good morning and welcome to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I am your host, Frank Acom, and we are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street in Corning. In the next hour, we're going to be talking with Tony Pucci, the author of the Michael Bishop Mystery Series, his new book, Night of Joy, Night of Sorrow. We'll be talking with him in the 7 o'clock hour, so you do not want to miss it. Here is an update. I have not talked about this lady in quite a while. We're talking about the super mayor. Tiffany Henyard. If you recall, there was a lot of scandals surrounding Miss Henyard. Well, Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker weighed in on this over the weekend, saying he's weighed stepping in as a state to address Henyard's controversial corruption allegations. We've looked into whether we ought to put resources, whether it's state police and their anti-corruption efforts, or asking the Attorney General. The reality is there are already two pretty significant investigations going on. We'll support them in every way we can, but it's just a matter if you want everybody running over each other in those investigations, or do you want two concerted efforts to get the facts? Now, if you recall, there's a meeting on June 3rd. I'm not sure if we mentioned that. I saw it in passing, but a meeting aimed to address the allegations of corruption and lavish spending against the scandal-ridden supermayor. That's the nickname she's given herself, by the way, supermayor. Tiffany Henyard descended into chaos on June 3rd as her opponents and supporters clashed in a fiery confrontation. Pritzker also noted that the FBI, as well as former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot, are currently investigating Henyard's actions. And we've talked about kind of the irony of Lori Lightfoot investigating somebody for these kind of allegations. I think those are two pretty good authorities for looking into this investigation, and looking into this and getting to the truth. We'll support them, said the governor. Henyard accused her opponents of following a political smear campaign against her, launched by the media. You guys are following a fiction, a made-up story. Now, we bring this up because, as always, it's important to know who you're voting for. This lady spending a lot of taxpayer money to the point where I think they said the town is going broke. She spent it on lavish vacations, security. We've talked about this extensively, but the village later hired Lightfoot, the former mayor, as a special investigator into Henyard, paying the former mayor $400 per hour. So there's your update on the super mayor. Another update, completely different. I don't want to go through all my stories here, but we are going to be talking with Tony Pucci a little bit later on. So that is going to that's quite a lengthy interview. We pre-recorded it on Friday, in full disclosure, or Thursday maybe, in full disclosure. But North Korea, remember last, was it 2 weeks ago probably now? We talked about North Korea sending trash balloons over to South Korea. Now, I'm not going to go into what was in these trash balloons, but just know that they're balloons full of trash. They sent it towards their southern neighbor late Sunday after Kim Jong-un's powerful sister warned of further responses if the South keeps up its psychological warfare. The new balloons, which Seoul has previously slammed as base and dangerous, came in apparent retaliation for the decision by South Korea to resume broadcasting anti-North Korean propaganda over loudspeakers in the border areas. Kim's sister and government spokeswoman, Kim Yo-jong, warned the resumption of loudspeaker broadcasts was a prelude to a very dangerous situation. In a statement carried by North Korean state media, Kim said South Korea would be subject to an unspecified new counteraction from the North if it continued with their loudspeaker broadcast. I sternly warn Seoul to stop at once this dangerous act, Kim said, adding that Seoul is creating a new environment of crisis. South Korea's Joint Chiefs of Staff has maintained North Korea is fully responsible for the current situation and urged the North to immediately stop such mean acts like sending waste balloons. Well, that's one way to deal with your enemy, I suppose. Trash balloons. This comes just a few weeks after their what was it, satellite launch failed miserably. Okay, those are a couple of quick things. We're going to be talking about the Hunter trial that's resuming today. We're going to talk about Trump's rally. Did you see any of Trump's rally? It was in Nevada. Very hot in Nevada. I guess some people were even fainting. We're going to talk about what he had to say. Kind of the big news making the media is that he promised, and what a place to promise it, in the Vegas area. He promised no taxes on tips. So we're going to talk about that as well. We've also got, what else we have? Oh, VP race. Some of the people that have been receiving those vetting papers have been speaking out. One of the people that didn't receive vetting papers said she's fine with it. It's Kristi Noem. She said, not an issue. I just hope that he picks a woman. Now, if he does pick a woman, the only person that's been mentioned on the short list is Elise Stefanik. But the New York Post did a piece today. Well, I think it's actually from Fox News, but the Post carried it, saying that Democrats are the most scared of a Marco Rubio vice presidential pick. What do you think of that? I've been saying this from the beginning. I'm just kind of surprised Marco Rubio's name's been included in this list. It's not a knock on him. I just didn't know they really got along. I know there were some issues when they ran against each other in the 2016 primaries, but people move on. We're also going to talk a little bit here about Israel. Before that, before we take our first break, because we're just getting started, I don't want to go through all of my stories, all of the news this morning, but feel free to weigh in. Who would you like to see? I know I ask this a lot as the VP nod. We've kind of got an idea of who the shortlist is, who's receiving the vetting papers. So do you have a favorite? Are you as enthralled with Marco Rubio as the media seems to be? I'll ask that question as well. Oh, also a few things here about President Joe Biden as well. Okay, let's talk just quickly. The media is kind of that wink, wink, nudge, nudge towards Biden, saying you've got to do something about Israel. Hostage rescue operation and Israeli political turmoil sharpen Biden's damaging dilemma. Now, this is yet another example. This is from Stephen Collinson from CNN, but there's been many in the media that have been pushing Biden to be even weaker with our ally in Israel. Fallout from an Israeli Special Forces rescue mission in Gaza, which retrieved 4 hostages but killed scores of Palestinian civilians, and the resignation of centrist Benny Gantz from the Israel's war cabinet on Sunday, sharpened political and diplomatic dilemmas Biden has struggled for months to reconcile. The return of 4 hostages was a moment of joy for their families and for all Israelis, and was welcomed by the United States, but the humanitarian toll of the operation underscores the carnage Israel has inflicted on civilians, often used by Hamas as human shields in the war, which erupted with the radical Islamic group's assault on Israel on October 7th. So think of that, admitting that Hamas uses citizens as human shields, but still highly critical of Israel. The latest bloodshed in Gaza could further estrange Biden from progressives in his electoral coalition, who are outraged at his support for Israel, its operations, and its failure to do more to shield civilians. Now, we know that's a misnomer. They are doing, some would argue, almost going through too much, putting themselves in danger to shield civilians. Any significant drop-off in votes from his constituency could endanger Biden in swing states, where his rematch against Donald Trump could be decided by thousands of votes. The issue is specifically fraught in Michigan, a potentially decisive state in November, which is home to significant numbers of Arab Americans. Vice President Kamala Harris was confronted by a protester during an appearance in the key swing state on Saturday, as she welcomed the hostage release while mourning civilians who were killed. The rescue mission also emphasizes the disparity in the death toll between Palestinians and Israelis in the conflict. This is likely to further isolate Israel internationally from nations horrified by the Hamas attacks and to inject further tensions between Washington and its allies over the war. Around 1,200 Israelis were killed in the Hamas attacks, while thousands of Palestinians have died in Gaza. It's interesting to see the media. Well, the media is very similar. They want Biden to win. So they're telling him, you better turn on your ally or you could could cost you some votes in Michigan and elsewhere. So this is just kind of that warning shot to the president, saying you better change your tune. But Nikki Haley has a great an opinion piece. Yes, Nikki Haley, former presidential candidate. She has a piece of the New York Post we're going to get to when we come back. So stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking. We're just getting warmed up, so stay with us.
Isn't your wellness important? Don't you want more energy? Now is the best time to make every day better and relieve those achy muscles and pains than with the Hesselson's Hot Tub. Hesselson's has hot tubs in stock and available for immediate delivery with unbelievable savings. Hesselson's offers 0% interest-free financing for up to 5 full years. Hesselson's carries the only hot tub brand in the industry with the exclusive freshwater salt system that is eco-friendly and easy to use and only enhances your hot tubbing experience. Come in today and see why your next hot tub should be a Hesselson's hot tub. And remember, it's always fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
If you or a loved one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer.
How do I know if I have a case?
Call 844-292-6222 and consult with one of our attorneys to find out if the products you used are part of the lawsuit. Your eligibility will also depend on how often you use these hair products and your specific cancer diagnosis. If you regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call us now. Call 844-292-6222.
How much will it cost to talk to an attorney?
There is no fee unless we win your case. Call 844-292-6222 for your free case review.
Bathroom of your dreams is only a phone call away with BCI Bath and Shower. We can make your ordinary bath and shower extraordinary. This is not a cookie-cutter design. This is a complete custom build that will fit your every need. It's never been easier or more affordable than right now to get the bathroom of your dreams. We have the best monthly programs in the industry with payments as low as $99 per month or no payments, no interest for 18 months with approved credit. The hardest part of your new bathroom is gutting and building the tub and shower. If your bathing area is old, there could be damage behind the walls and possible mold and mildew, which can be a serious safety issue. At BCI, we don't cover a problem, we fix it. Call now to get a never clean glass treated door with the no-track system at half off for the first 50 callers. Factory trained, certified installers made in the USA and discounts for seniors and military. Call 800-704-1798. That's 800-704-1798.
Our beautiful view of historic Market Street as we broadcast live from the Hesselson studio. Thank you so much for joining us. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan was interviewed on CNN. And he said the best way to get all the hostages home and to protect Palestinian civilians is to end the war. And the best way to end the war is for Hamas to say yes to the deal President Biden announced and that Israel has accepted. Innocent people were tragically killed in this operation. The exact number we don't know, but innocent people were killed, and that is heartbreaking. That is tragic. Now, Nikki Haley, and this is at the New York Post. She did it. I'm assuming that's where she sent this to, but maybe it was elsewhere as well. But she says Joe Biden has forgotten what happened on October 7th, but Israelis can't. Joe Biden and many Western politicians have apparently forgotten what happened on October 7th, but the people of Israel can't. She goes through, if you recall, she just returned from a trip to Israel. She goes through some of the people that she met there. But she said the terrorists who perpetrated those crimes have promised to do it again. And that's an important point. That's why the ceasefire to me has never really made sense, because they can call for ceasefire as much as they want. But all that does is give Hamas time to regroup and do what they've promised to do, which is another October 7th. It's crucial that Israel finishes the job in Gaza, defeat Hamas, and return every hostage back home to their families. That includes the 8 Americans who are still hostages in Gaza, 5 of whom are known to be alive. Yet instead of supporting Israel against the terrorists who pledged death to Israel and death to America, President Biden and some members of Congress are withholding weapons, punishing Israel diplomatically and economically, and dictating what they want politically instead of what Israel needs for security. Worst of all, they're demanding a ceasefire. A ceasefire is the same as defeat. And I think that's a really good point by Nikki Haley. A ceasefire is the same as defeat. It would give the terrorists time and resources to complete their mission, which is the total destruction of Israel. By paving the way for another massacre, politicians like Joe Biden are downplaying what happened on October 7th. But if you've seen the burned houses, smelled the ash and death, and heard directly from the survivors, as I have, you can't ignore the reality of what happened, says Nikki Haley. Supporting Israel will ensure it never happens again, in Israel or America. Make no mistake, Joe Biden is failing both America and Israel. Israel is fighting our enemies. That's true of Hamas, it's true of Hezbollah and the Houthis. Most of all, it's true of Iran. Iran is funneling rockets to those terrorist armies. It's developing ballistic missiles with ever longer ranges. And yes, Iran is on the brink of a nuclear bomb. Now remember, President Biden's saying to our allies, don't mention Iran, don't censor them for their nuclear ambitions. But I'll continue. It openly promises to wipe Israel off the map and has frequently attacked Americans. Our own security demands that we stand with Israel to stop Iran. But Joe Biden is letting Iran get away with murder, literally. Even as he criticizes Israel for defending herself, he continues to give Iran the money and time that will lead to more deadly attacks and deadlier weapons. Biden is actively enabling a regime that wants to murder every Israeli and every American. As commander-in-chief, he is utterly failing his most important job, which is to keep the American people safe. To protect Americans, we must partner with Israel. We must give it everything it needs to destroy Hamas, defeat Hezbollah, and beat down everything Iran throws its way. At the same time, we must hold accountable international bodies that are attacking Israel. The International Criminal Court and the International Court of Justice should be sanctioned, even as sanctions on Iran should be fully enforced and dramatically expanded. Any country or entity that attacks Israel emboldens America's enemies. Punishing them is key to protecting ourselves. The alternative is to abandon Israel, ignore what happened on October 7th, and assume it would never happen on American soil. Whether it's Joe Biden or anyone else, our leaders need to remember what happened to people on that dreadful day, which was reminiscent of what happened to thousands of Americans on September 11th. She speaks, this is Nikki Haley again, if you're just joining us, speaks specifically to Tally, saying Tally survived, but she lives with the images of her mutilated friends every single day. She deserves the justice that comes through victory. So do the American people, because if Israel loses, America does too. I thought that was a really powerful opinion piece by Nikki Haley, a former presidential candidate. Obviously, she was the governor of South Carolina and U.S. ambassador to the United Nations from 2017 to 2019. We received this comment. We were talking about VP nods, and a lot of people are discussing specifically Marco Rubio. Marco Rubio fits on a sign better. Trump, Rubio, same number of letters. That's a good point. It would look good on a sign. I don't have necessarily an opinion on that. It's just there is a lot of coverage of perhaps a Marco Rubio vice presidential nod, but there are others as well. We're going to talk about that a little bit later on. We also have a few things here about the border. We know last week Biden trying to act as if he's tough on the border. We see now that it's all for show. Not a lot of success there. We're going to talk about Hunter Biden as well. And a few things here about Trump and the VP race. Also, I also have a couple things here about former Governor Andrew Cuomo. Obviously looking to make a comeback. And there's a piece about that from Fred LeBrun saying Cuomo plans a comeback. We're going to talk about that in a little bit as well. But when we come back, we will be talking about the border and that executive order, which is essentially a joke. I mean, Biden, just like we were talking about with Israel, his weakness on Israel, changing his position on Israel, he's doing everything for votes. That was just for show because he recognizes, and rightfully so, that the American people are fed up with our immigration policy. So he put forth an executive order after years of saying, there's nothing we can do. My hands are tied. Then, oh no, everything's fine. There's not an open, porous border. Now we have to do something, and darn it, Republicans didn't do it, so I'm going to do it. They're hoping, folks, that you're not paying attention. They do not believe in your intelligence. But we got to take a short break. We're going to talk about it when we come back, so stay with us. Just getting started here on Frankly Speaking at WYDC TV. Big Fox, stay with us.
Attention, if you or a loved one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer. If you used hair relaxers and now have uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call now to see if you qualify. There's no fee unless we win your case.
I'm Mary Unford. I've lived here for 70 years, but I do fine right here in my house, and I want to be here as long as I can be. And I feel comfortable knowing that if something happened to me, someone would know because of the cameras that are installed in various spots in my home. That has been a wonderful gift to me to be able to have that security and that support from Full Circle America, and that's what it's all about.
Your triathlon. Let's splash through rushing rivers, take on iconic trails, and race straight to the top. What's the point of winning if you can't kick back and enjoy the view? Yours, Toyota SUVs.
Lease a new RAV4 all-wheel drive for just $319 a month, and you've got everything you need to take adventure further. Find yours at Toyota.com. Toyota. Let's go places.
Rated the hearing aids of 2023 by Forbes, the Audion Atom 2 series offers superior sound quality and functionality for a fraction of the price. For just $189 a pair, the Atom 2 features 4 different hearing modes for all types of hearing loss. It packs crystal clear sound, a nearly invisible design, and is even rechargeable.
I actually like them better than my old $5,000 hearing aids. They're so comfortable, I forget I'm wearing them. And the sound is amazing.
The Atom Pro 2 is our smallest hearing aid yet, featuring advanced background noise cancellation, and is the world's first hearing aid with built-in UV cleaning that kills 99% of bacteria.
I could not believe how my hearing and life changed without seeing a doctor or having a hearing test.
Join over 500,000 happy customers today and get the hearing you deserve.
Call 1-800-434-9816 or go to audionhearing.com to get your pair of Audion hearing aids starting at just $180.
And we are back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox, thanks so much for joining us this morning. So, according to the New York Post editorial board, the border crackdown has already failed miserably. Joe Biden's border move has already failed. Thursday saw some 10,000 migrants in Border Patrol custody, 4 times the limit at which our president said he would stop processing the phony asylum claims used by illegals. So it sure looks like it had no effect. Some 4,000, way over the limit, were apprehended on Wednesday, and the inflows just keep coming. Well, much of it, and we had predicted this on the program, they gave a how-to to get out of it. Basically, hey, if you say you're one of these things, you're scot-free. Customs and Border Protection Processing Centers in San Diego, the top illegal crossing area, have been stuffed to the gills and beyond recently at 237% capacity. Like everything else Biden's done on the border, the policy is a joke, writes the New York Post editorial board. Wave them in, Joe came into office and immediately wrecked the safeguards his predecessor, Donald Trump, had put into place to keep illegal immigrants out. Remember, he was even celebrating it. I mean, it was something he campaigned on, essentially giving us an open, porous border. That brought record-smashing levels of illegal immigration month after month, year after year, eagerly aided and abetted by the Biden team, which has also created multiple new pathways for illegals to get waved through and instantly be eligible for work papers. Want to jump the line to enter the United States on a transparently bogus claim of asylum? There's an app for that. Even with the border disaster killing him at the polls, Biden remained silent, essentially, on the issue, blaming everyone but himself. Finally, came last week's crackdown. though if it was working as advertised, it would still emit 1.8 million illegals per year. And that was the point that, of course, the media overlooked, really highlighting this is going to be tough. Toughest yet from the Biden administration, letting in 1.8 million illegals per year. Keep that in mind. Plus a massive carve-out, exempting all of those whose home countries, like China and Venezuela, won't accept them back. Over 150,000 people from those two nations alone have jumped the border so far this year. So to recap, Biden's latest crackdown is a total fake. And even if it were real, it would still be nearly as disastrous as his 3+ years of inviting millions to break the law and cross, then releasing them into U.S. with no supervision. If this is the best we can do to end the chaos he created, he deserves everything that's coming to him in November. That's coming from the New York Post. Coming from a viewer, if Cuomo can come back after his Chappaquiddick, God save New York. There's a lot of nursing home families that won't be voting for him. Okay, let's jump to, let me get one more thing out of the way here about the border, and then we'll talk about Cuomo in the next segment. An International Border Patrol memo, which was obtained by Fox News, instructs agents in the San Diego sector to release single adults from all but 6 countries in the Eastern Hemisphere and classify them as hard or very hard to remove. The memo was sent out after President Biden's executive order banning asylum for most illegal immigrants took effect last week. Biden announced the order on Tuesday and said he was moving past Republican obstruction and using executive authorities available to me as president to do what I can to address the border on my own. Details in the memo, first reported by the Washington Examiner, instructs agents that are single adults from the Eastern Hemisphere are to be processed via NTA OR, which means notice to appear released on own recognizance, except for migrants from Russia, Georgia, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, Moldova, and Kyrgyzstan, which are mandatory referral countries. There are more than 100 countries in the Eastern Hemisphere, meaning that despite the Department of Homeland Security and President Biden's threats of consequences and promises to remove migrants who cross illegally under the new executive order, the overwhelming majority of the migrants in the San Diego sector are being released into the United States. Video recorded by Fox News continues to show Border Patrol buses releasing hundreds of migrants at a trolley station in San Diego almost daily. There are also many countries the U.S. government considers who won't cooperate. In a DHS background call with reporters on Friday, the agency acknowledged that it's difficult for them to remove certain Eastern Hemisphere countries, but they are working with them, including China, to gain cooperation. The presidential proclamation will temporarily suspend the entry of migrants across the southern border once the number of average border encounters exceeds 2,500 a day over 7 days. We know all the number. So even if it were working, you're still looking at 1.8 million illegals allowed into the country. When we come back, we're going to change. We've got a lot more on Biden. But I do ask the question, what do you think about Marco Rubio? That is the name. And I'm not saying this to be critical. It does concern me when certain media outlets are kind of pushing for a candidate. But I'm not being critical of Marco Rubio. I'm just surprised he was on that list. I never thought, I guess I'm being naive, I never thought they really got along that well, Rubio and Trump. But that is a name being thrown around. He has received his papers to vet and look into his background. And we will talk about that a little bit later on. Also, as I mentioned, Fred LeBrun saying Cuomo plans a comeback. We've got 2 Cuomo stories today for whatever that's worth. To start off your Monday morning, to start off the work week with Cuomo plans a comeback. We'll talk about that in a little bit. I wanted to mention this, though. I didn't want to forget. The mini golf benefit. I love this idea. For the Painted Post Food Pantry, it is tomorrow from 6 to 8. Cost is just $10. If you can, bring a can of food to donate. It's at Park Avenue Sports Center, 412 Park Avenue in Corning. And if it does rain tomorrow, the rain date will be Tuesday, June 18th. So help out our friends at the Painted Post Food Pantry. If you have any information about upcoming events, fundraisers for your organizations, you can always contact me at the number on the bottom of your screen. I would love to do an interview. I would love to highlight and promote your event. So just text it to me, or you can leave a voicemail with all of the information at that number on the bottom of your screen. All right, let's take a short break. When we come back, we're going to talk about former disgraced governor, Andrew Cuomo. So stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking.
Attention, this is an important message for firefighters, members of the military, and airport workers. For decades, first responders and firefighters at military bases and airports used a chemical-based foam to fight fires. Studies have shown that chemicals used to make aqueous film-forming foam, or AFFF, are highly toxic to humans and have been associated with several types of cancer. If you or someone you know was diagnosed with any of those cancers, call now for a free case review.
Hi, I'm Aubrey. For over 40 years, the Blaze Alexander family dealerships have been making car buying easy, affordable, with respect for your time.
And we do that by treating all of our customers like family.
By making sure you get the lowest rates, biggest discounts, and most for your trade.
By providing clean, comfortable, and convenient service.
By offering the largest selection of new and pre-owned vehicles every day. Visit a Blaze Alexander family dealership,
where we're taking the deals
the other guys won't.
Great drivers change lanes very fast, but with no outside mirrors. How come they don't crash? Introducing Angel View, the new wide-angle mirror that reduces blind spots. Angel View simply snaps over your car's rear view mirror, giving you a 160-degree view behind you. Just look at the difference. Look, ordinary rear view mirrors are small and flat, but Angel View has a huge mirror with curved glass. This convex shape allows you to see both blind spots with one glance. And with our Pro Edition special coating, it's anti-glare at night. Get your Angel View now for just $19.99. But wait, Angel View may be discontinued. Due to rising costs, Angel View is stopping manufacturing effective immediately. Once the current inventory is gone, it's gone forever. Order now.
Call 1-800-897-0371 or visit getangelview.com. Order now.
And we are back. You're watching Frankly Speaking. Thank you so much. I'm your host, Frank Ake. I'm broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Coming up in the 7 o'clock hour, right around 7:20, we're going to be talking with our good friend Tony Pucci. He's got a new book out, Night of Joy, Night of Sorrow, and that's a part of the Michael Bishop Mystery Series. I think you're really going to enjoy that interview. So that's coming up in just about a little under an hour from now. So New Yorkers, Andrew Cuomo wants your vote. Now, which New Yorkers, when, and for what office remains a work in progress. But rest assured, at some point, not too far down the road, he will come calling. Or at least so it appears. It's his heart's desire. Because it's in his blood. He needs a fix. To paraphrase one downstate pundit, he wants redemption for disgracing the family name and needs to get elected to something. Apparently, that's what he wants. But do we even care? I've yet to hear any support, any public voices, any murmur that suggests we would really like to have Andrew Cuomo back in our communal lives. Yeah, it seems to be more the focus of political pundits, if you will, to talk about him and him himself. But that's it. I don't imagine too many people are clamoring for a Cuomo comeback. Are you? Fred LeBrun says he's gonna plan a comeback. Last week, the Daily News reported Cuomo was putting feelers out to influential labor unions exploring a potential run for mayor of New York City. And we talked about this last week. The current mayor, Eric Adams, is up for re-election next year. Adams is perceived as a wounded political creature at the moment, under multiple investigations, and reportedly losing public support for his less than stellar tenure. Purportedly, there are polls that suggest if Adams were to step aside or be taken down, Cuomo would do well against competitors for the job. Think of that. And then we wonder why nothing changes here in New York. New York essentially said, yeah, we'll still vote for Cuomo. Unbelievable. So it seems some downstate voters still very much like Cuomo. Maybe. But as media observers have noted, Cuomo running in New York City, where he doesn't live, poses challenges. Among them, the mechanics of ranked choice voting that work against those with high negatives like Cuomo, and restrictions on how much of his state campaign war chest he can use in a city election, and the inevitable capable rivals who would try and rip him to shreds in a very public way. Cuomo remains in a state of disgrace, so he has his vulnerabilities. Does he feel he's in a state of disgrace, though? Boy, it doesn't seem it, does it? So while running for mayor of New York City may be a fallback if other doors are closed, it is unlikely to be his first choice. Oh, interesting. Again, this, if you're just joining us, is Fred LeBrun. His spots haven't changed. He most likely wants his old job back, governor of the state. In a couple of months, it'll be 3 years since he resigned as governor under intense pressure brought by multiple allegations of sexual harassment, documented in a scathing 165-page report commissioned by State Attorney General Letitia James. Cuomo has steadfastly maintained he didn't sexually harass anyone. Can you believe it's been almost 3 years? Wow. While no criminal charges stuck against Cuomo, 3 civil suits materialized from alleged victims and accusers. The one suit was filed in state Supreme Court, the other 2 in federal court. Currently, they are wending tortured routes through discovery to eventual resolution, probably trials. Trials because settling out of court does not work for Cuomo's future, neither does losing. Any restoration of his reputation and whatever political career he can still muster are on the line. It is also the best chance at the same time to put James's sexual harassment report on public trial in terms of its broad credibility, which he will attack. He needs the stage. James also happens to be a probable rival for the very job Cuomo wants back. There are high stakes for Cuomo, among the highest he has ever faced, made all the more difficult, ironically, by his actions as governor when he deliberately lowered the civil standards for what constitutes sexual harassment to conduct just above petty slights and trivial inconveniences. Previously, the bar was quite high in New York, which abused women and their attorneys had complained about for years. It's hard to see Andrew Cuomo as a wounded political creature as well, no matter how powerful he once was. Look how far he has fallen. He is in effect being shunned by the political class he presided over since ascending to the top of the state's political hierarchy. Well, that's the problem when you're not a nice guy, when you treat people the way we've seen it reported that he treated people. It's kind of a good riddance, right? Not a single public figure has stepped forward to champion him. Not a single politician is clamoring for his return to New York politics at any level. More than any of the sexual harassment charges brought against him, what sank his ship was his own abrasive, even toxic behavior and persona. At the end of the day, you need friends to survive the bumps in politics. Andrew Cuomo does not seem to have those friends. Kathy Hochul, the current governor, is not a wounded political creature, but she has been, at best, lackluster. The public has not warmed to her. It's easy to see why Cuomo would see her as vulnerable. Her approval rating and likability have been resolutely underwater since taking over after Cuomo resigned. She has had missteps. The state's handling of the migrant issue, perception of crime. I like how they say that. Perception of crime. Do you notice how the media always presents it that way? Never mind what you're saying. Never mind what you're experiencing. It's just a perception. Perception of crime, transparency, giveaways to her home base in Western New York. Her slim win of the governorship in her own right raised eyebrows. If she does not step up her game, she will not survive. Nature and politics abhor a vacuum, and she is creating one. Amusingly, Wikipedia for the 2026 New York governorship lists as likely candidates first Andrew Cuomo, second Kathy Hochul, and third Letitia James. I, for one, am looking forward to watching Andrew Cuomo try to live up to it. So what do you think? It seems difficult to me for Andrew Cuomo to run against a woman for anything, really, specifically governor. But he's also going to speak, and I know this is something that we mention a lot on the program when we talk about Andrew Cuomo, his disastrous, tragic handling of the nursing home situation during COVID. Well, he's going to face questions from the COVID-19 panel in Congress. A congressional panel investigating COVID-19 met with relatives of New York nursing home residents who died during the shutdown, as the panel readies to grill ex-governor Andrew Cuomo on the pandemic. Members of the Republican-led subcommittee on the coronavirus pandemic received a detailed 121-page timeline from Peter Arbany, whose father, Norman, died from the infection after being released from a Brooklyn nursing home. The scathing document on the WeCareWall.com website claims Cuomo and his administration's decision, an alleged cover-up, contributed to COVID-related deaths in nursing homes. We know that is the case. We know that's exactly what happened. It was really highlighted, and one of the reasons it was shut down was because of Steuben County being outspoken on this. Jack Wheeler and others being very outspoken and drawing attention to the fact that they were putting COVID-positive patients amongst our most vulnerable in nursing homes. It's the first time Cuomo is being officially interviewed by congressional probers, though in a transcribed interview behind closed doors. Keeping track of Governor Cuomo's multitude of lies, manipulations, and misdeeds can be overwhelming, Arbany recently told the House investigators. The preface to the timeline, called the now infamous Cuomo $5.2 million book deal, was the black cloud hovering over New York nursing home scandal and the driving force of corruption, greed, and betrayal at the highest level of state government. The COVID-19 panel, whose members include Staten Island Representative Nicole Malatakis, has interviewed other families of COVID victims and state ethics officials involved in the controversy. The panel interviewed, as you recall last week, Dr. Anthony Fauci. For nearly 4 years, Governor Cuomo has stonewalled our committee as we seek to prevent the next pandemic, improve government preparedness and response plans, and gather answers for families who lost elderly loved ones because of his order forcing nursing homes to positive accept, I think this is a typo, but to accept positive patients even if they could not care for them. We look forward to finally getting answers, transparency, and accountability for New Yorkers, said Malatakis. Questions that will undoubtedly be asked. The infamous March 25th, 2020 edict directing nursing homes to accept positive COVID-19 patients discharged from hospitals. Whose idea was it? Who created it? And why did it remain in place for 6 weeks when it was clear the virus spread through nursing homes? Why were emergency hospitals such as the Javits Center and USS Comfort, which had thousands of emergency beds, underutilized? Why did Cuomo decide to write a $5 million profit-making book about his response to COVID-19 in the middle of the pandemic while thousands of New Yorkers were dying? Did the decision to write a book impact the governor's decision to make him look better? And why did the substantial undercount or misled the public about nursing home residents who died from COVID-19? Bill Hammond, Senior Fellow for Health Policy at the Empire Center for Public Policy, who issued critical reports on the Cuomo administration's actions, also was consulted by the panel, as were state ethics officials tasked with reviewing the controversial book deal. The Department of Justice has looked at the issue 3 times, as have the Manhattan District Attorney, the State Attorney General, and the New York State Assembly, all determining that the actual facts and evidence do not support any claim of wrongdoing. And no MAGA farce of a congressional hearing is going to change that, said Cuomo spokesman Richard Azzopardi. Also, now it's MAGA. Do you see the boogeyman in MAGA? The Cuomo spokesman also said the administration's March 25th directive telling nursing homes to admit or readmit COVID-positive patients from hospitals did not cause Arbany's father's death. We understand Mr. Arbany's pain. It's terrible to lose a loved one under any circumstance. But as court and publicly available DOH documents prove, the DOH March 25th guidance played no role in his father's loss. He was admitted to Cobble Hill Health Center on March 20th, 2020, released on April 8th, and passed away tragically April 21st, critically. Cobble Hill Health Center did not admit a single COVID-positive patient into their facility until 3 weeks after Mr. Arbany was discharged. Anyway, enough on that. So Cuomo facing that, well, behind closed doors with a written testimony, but facing the House COVID-19 panel. I'm sure we'll talk about that as information comes out. We've got a couple comments here, a couple waves. Thank you for the waves. Time for a change in New York. Time for a Republican. Upstate New York needs a voice. Between the revolving door of criminals and the pot issue and natural gas and all kinds of other things, we need common sense and conservative values back in government. Thank you for your comments. Boy, we came close with Lee Zeldin. But boy, if Lee Zeldin couldn't win after that, with everything mounting and facing Hochul and, of course, the former administration with Cuomo, I just don't know. It makes you wonder. And the fact that they're even talking about Cuomo making a comeback also makes me wonder. But let's take a short break. What do you think? Will he be making a comeback? Will he be governor yet again? Let me know. To see that number on the bottom of your screen. We got to take a short break. We're running a little bit late. Stay with us.
Isn't your wellness important? Don't you want more energy? Now is the best time to make every day better and relieve those achy muscles and pains than with the Hesselson's Hot Tub. Hesselson's has hot tubs in stock and available for immediate delivery with unbelievable savings. Hesselson's offers 0% interest-free financing for up to 5 full years. Hesselson's carries the only hot tub brand in the industry with the exclusive freshwater salt system that is eco-friendly and easy to use and only enhances your hot tubbing experience. Come in today and see why your next hot tub should be a Hesselson's hot tub. And remember, it's always fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
Was your baby fed a cow's milk baby formula such as Similac or Enfamil? If so, your child may be entitled to significant financial compensation. Evidence shows that cow's milk formulas increase the risk of NEC in premature babies, causing severe harm and even death. If your child was born premature and suffers from NEC, intestinal perforations, sepsis, cerebral palsy, or died as a result, you may have the right to sue for significant financial compensation. Call now for a free case review.
Getting real video for a commercial used to be extremely expensive, but not anymore. WYDC TV Big Fox now offers the Twin Tiers amazing aerial video for your business. We do it with our state-of-the-art drone and commercially licensed aerial pilot. Beautiful HD aerial video and pictures custom-made for your commercial. Call or email now to advertise on Big Fox TV and let everyone see your business in a whole new way.
And we are back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. Thank you so much for joining us on this Monday morning edition. Coming up in just a little bit, Tony Pucci will be our guest. So what's next in the Hunter Biden trial? I understand that we'll know whether or not Hunter Biden will testify, I think, today. We are down to that last decision, defense attorney Abe Lowell said. This is Hunter Biden. I'm sorry. Did I jump ahead there? Biden has been charged with 3 counts related to his purchase of a snub-nosed revolver in 2018 when he was on crack cocaine. Defense attorneys have focused on the month Biden purchased the weapon, arguing that there is no direct evidence he was using drugs then. Prosecutors, citing witness testimony, text messages, images, and Biden's own memoir, say the addiction at the time was well documented and that Biden knew he was an addict. Now, before breaking early Friday afternoon, Lowell told the judge that the defense had not yet decided whether Hunter would testify, a decision they are set to announce today. Lowell has previously said that whether Biden saw himself as an addict when he purchased the firearm is crucial to the prosecution's case. If Biden does testify, prosecutors say they may put on a rebuttal case with more witnesses, which could extend the trial further into the week. Both sides will then present closing statements, summarizing their view of the case while highlighting supporting evidence. What do you think the decision will be? As Benjamin Weingarten says, Hunter Biden's trial is just a political ploy to protect Joe and the compromised DOJ. Don't see the Hunter Biden gun case as an effort to hold the president's son to account, but as a political maneuver aimed at protecting the prosecutors, perhaps the defendant, and certainly his father. This sideshow diverts the public's gaze from a far larger corruption. Felony gun charges are piddling when weighed against the selling out of our country, not to mention the leverage Hunter's dubious dealings and debauchery might have provided to our enemies. Yes, it features many shiny objects, some juicy and others generally newsworthy. From the riveting train wreck that was Hunter Biden's life at the time he committed the alleged offenses, lurid details of his drug abuse, relationships, and recklessness, to the vindicating for the Post, but still unbelievable Justice Department's decision to enter the laptop from hell into evidence. Yeah, isn't that shocking? I see that they still won't, the 51 members of the intelligence community, many of them still will not denounce that letter that they sent out saying that it was Russian propaganda. But I'll continue. Yet while Special Counsel David Wise and the Extension Attorney General Merrick Garland will play this at the Biden Justice Department's pursuit of even the president's son without fear or favor, it's no such thing. First, Hunter may well be found not guilty, or at least get a hung jury. His team is tugging at the heartstrings of jurors hailing from a state in which the Bidens are royalty. That's a very good point. That's the point we made last week with former Congressman Joe Sempolinski. Biden-friendly media have reported that Joe Biden is concerned about the case, making this a story about a father's love for his targeted son as well, turning the Bidens not only into potentially sympathetic characters, but victims. Even a guilty verdict may lose on appeal, by using as a defense a pro-Second Amendment Supreme Court ruling that Joe Biden has panned, to keep that in mind. Yet this case, involving offenses at a remove from Hunter Biden's father, heard in the most favorable venue for the Bidens that any case could have been brought, was never supposed to happen. It inadvertently serves as an indictment of prosecution and defense alike. Recall how he got there. For years, key players at the Justice Department and FBI systematically sabotaged the real case against Hunter Biden. Prosecutors and investigators ignored or declined to pursue evidence of this serious, compromising, and national security imperiling misconduct, ranging from alleged violations of the Foreign Agent Registration Act to tax evasion connected to the Biden family's international influence peddling business. Most erroneously, prosecutors let the statutes of limitations lapse on material offenses most closely linked to then Vice President Biden's policy portfolio. A pair of IRS agents appealed at seeing their peers tank the investigation, risked everything, and came forward as whistleblowers. They brought forth reams of evidence, all through proper congressional channels, tracking how federal law enforcement had protected the Bidens. Their evidence was only compounded by the fact that the same federal forces were simultaneously engaging in an ever-intensifying jihad against Donald Trump. And that's why, and I mentioned it last week, where you had many in the media trying to say, well, see, there's no two-tiered justice system. Caught in a potential scandal, the Delaware U.S. Attorney's Office colluded with Hunter Biden's legal team to concoct a sweetheart plea deal containing a global immunity get-out-of-jail-free card that insulated Biden from the most serious charges. And that's what we talked about last week with the former congressman. You have to accept, if you accept the media saying that that this is not a two-tiered justice, that this is shows how fair the justice system is, and that we're overreacting about Trump, you have to ignore the fact that that plea deal, that sweetheart plea deal, fell apart. Seen in this light, the current trial is clearly a fig leaf aimed at rehabilitating the Justice Department while putting Hunter Biden before the most hospitable possible jury, all far removed from conduct remotely relating to his father. The pending Los Angeles case against Hunter Biden is only slightly less deceptive, and it at least deals with alleged financial crimes stemming from his work in the Biden family business, monetizing his father's name, including at the tail end of Joe's vice presidency. But the indictment never makes reference to that name, and prosecutors further distracted from the underlying corruption by focusing in great detail on Hunter's lavish spending. The real story of Hunter Biden's legal troubles isn't about sex, guns, drugs, or even taxes. Rather, it's about the now First Family's global influence, international influence peddling operation, and a government-wide effort to cover it up. I thought that was a really good piece by Benjamin Weingarten, but we got to take a short break. Stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Attention, if you or a loved one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer. If you used hair relaxers and now have uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call now to see if you qualify. There's no fee unless we win your case.
I was an athlete when I grew up, and I always wanted to stay near athletes. What drove me to orthopedics and sports medicine in general was the need and the want to help these patients from their time of injury and helping them with surgery and through the rehab, getting them back to the field. My patients are obviously very important to me. These athletes, weekend warriors, all of them, I really want them to get back and be doing the things that they want to be doing.
Major League Baseball on Fox.
Hey, what I'm doing, hey, getting right to it. The money is talking, I'm flowing, it's coming in just how I do it. Yeah, can't stop, nah, won't stop. Yeah, it's been on live, you don't believe it, just watch.
Jaw-dropping stuff. Major League Baseball all season long on Fox.
And we are back with Frankly Speaking, wrapping up our number one comment from Ken here. Does anyone actually believe the Hunter will be found guilty? By the way, the Oregon coast is beautiful, especially if you ignore the homeless encampments. Well, thank you, Ken. Yeah, it almost feels like with the Trump trial. With the Trump trial, didn't we kind of talked about it on the show extensively, that you always felt, you were hoping you were wrong, but you always felt he was going to be found guilty. Isn't that what this feels like on the opposite side of the coin with Hunter? That you see no way he's going to be charged or be found guilty. By the way, the ex-Intel officials are doubling down on signing what they call that patriotic letter against Hunter Biden's laptop. Do you regret signing it? They asked, Fox News asked all 51 individuals who signed that letter. James Clapper said no. He also declined to publicly remove his name from the letter or concede that those signing onto it should have waited longer for more information to develop. There continues to be, by many a calculator, woefully ignorant interpretations of the October 2020 letter signed by 51 former intelligence officers concerning Hunter Biden's laptop. A careful and objective reading of the document reflects that even today its content is accurate. It served as nothing more than a warning letter of what we have known for decades. Certain foreign governments, including Russia, continue to try and actively interfere in our domestic affairs, and our guard must remain vigilant. Every patriotic American should have signed that letter. That's according to Mark Zed, an attorney representing some of the people who signed the letter. This is very old news, said Greg Treverton. What we said was true. We were interfering from our experience, and it did look like a Russian operation. We didn't and couldn't, of course, say it was a Russian operation. Enough said. We want to emphasize that we do not know if the emails provided to the New York Post by President Trump's personal attorney, Rudy Giuliani, are genuine or not, and that we do not have evidence of Russian involvement. Just that our experience makes us deeply suspicious that the Russian government played a significant role in this case, the letter stated, before explaining several reasons why the laptop is consistent with Russian disinformation. They can't drop it. By the way, Joe Biden, showing up to the trial each day, puts on a powerful show, says Miranda Devine, while snubbing his now 5-year-old daughter. Joe Biden made a show for the jury last week of putting family first when she donned bright colors and sat in the front row of her stepson Hunter Biden's gun trial. The power of the presidency emanated from the First Lady in that courtroom, and she made sure with her stilettos and vivid power suits, her center stage position, and the Secret Service detail that nobody, least of all the jurors, can miss her presence. All right. We're going to talk a little bit more about this when we come back. I just realized that we were out of time. 1 hour down on this morning's edition of Frankly Speaking. Coming up in the next hour, right around 7:20, a little bit before that, because we talked for quite a while. It's a pre-recorded interview. But with Tony Pucci, he's got a new book out, Night of Joy, Night of Sorrow. That's a part of the Michael Bishop Mystery Series. Thank you to everybody sending in waves. A little quiet on the street, though, this morning. But thank you for the waves. Thank you for the comments. What do you think? Like I mentioned at the beginning of the program, Marco Rubio really being praised. A lot in the media seem to want him as VP. What do you think? Also, we've been talking about Hunter. Do you think Andrew Cuomo is going to make a comeback? Do you think he is going to be governor yet again? These are all questions being asked this morning on this morning's edition of Frankly Speaking. Aren't you glad that you joined us? So keep those comments coming in. You see the number on the bottom of the screen. Weigh in on what you'd like to talk about. And let's take that break. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox, please stay with us. Hour number 2, mere moments away.
Looks like y'all got a lot of stuff here in your water.
You're never gonna believe it, but this can filter up to 60 different contaminants from your water.
It's all about cleaner drinking water.
Dude, that's good water.
And that's good water.
Now that's good water.
That's good water, eh?
No matter where you live, there's a Culligan water expert nearby. At Culligan, we think about your water so you don't have to.
Call today to schedule your free water test.
This happened. You want your repair done right. Bring it to Nappy's, or if undrivable, have it towed right to us. It's your choice where to take your vehicle. Nappy's has a state-of-the-art paint booth and a new and improved repair shop. Let our friendly staff of specialists help you through the process and get it done right the first time. It's a Nappy's family with 3 generations. Voted #1 auto body repair shop 17 times in the Twin Tiers.
Thank you for your business.
Insist on Nappy's auto body done right.
Attention, if you were a loved one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer. If you used hair relaxers and now have uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call now to see if you qualify. There's no fee unless
And we are back. Hour number 2 of Frankly Speaking as we broadcast live from the Hesselson's studio. I'm your host, Frank Acom. Thank you to everyone commenting in the first hour. We've got a lot to get to. As I mentioned, Tony Pucci will be our guest here in just a little bit. I wrapped up the last hour talking about Joe Biden showing up to Hunter's trial. But we talked last week, and this is what the piece is all about by Miranda Devine, the Biden snubbing Hunter's 5-year-old daughter. Neither Jill nor Joe nor Hunter has ever met Navy, says London Roberts in her new book, Out of the Shadows. She describes her year as an on-again, off-again lover of the first son in 2018, his year of self-confessed debauchery and crack addiction, during which he bought a gun and allegedly lied on the federal background check form, as we all know. She chronicles her desperation when Hunter, 54, ghosted her while she was pregnant, the hardship of being thrown off his payroll 3 months after the birth of Navy Joan, the humiliation of dragging him into court, the blow 2 years later when he reapplied to the court to slash his child support payments, and the hurt when the first family refused to acknowledge her daughter. After she agreed last year to a reduction in child support payments from $20,000 a month to less than $5,000, Roberts extracted a promise from Hunter that he would establish a relationship with his daughter, which he has done through Zoom calls, and acknowledged that she was a Biden. A few weeks later, Joe and Jill Biden, for the first time, publicly acknowledged Navy Joan Roberts as their grandchild in a statement to People magazine. But that was only grudgingly acknowledging Navy. Later that year, the Bidens broke with their tradition of the previous 2 Christmases of hanging 6 Santa stockings embroidered with the names of each of their grandchildren over the mantle. There were even extra personalized stockings for the pets. Enough on that. That's going to be an interesting book. I kind of want to read her new book, The Ex-Lover of Hunter. By the way, did you see that today Trump has to meet with a probation officer? He's scheduled to sit for a virtual interview on Monday with a New York City probation officer from his home at Mar-a-Lago, with his attorney Todd Blanche at his side after he's found guilty on all counts. You know that. The pre-sentencing probation interview will be done over a special virtual network with added security measures, and the interviewer will be a female, according to 2 sources with knowledge of the situation. The call is expected to be held over Zoom, is what the sources have said. Martin Horn, a former commissioner of the New York City Department of Corrections and Probation, told NBC News it is highly unusual for a pre-sentence investigation interview to be done over Zoom. But you can argue that Trump's appearance at the probation office on the 10th floor of the criminal court building in Manhattan, where his trial took place, with Secret Service and press following him, would be very disruptive to the probation office and unfair to other defendants who might not want to be identified. So in the end, this might be better for the probation officer. All right, that'll be interesting. I'm sure we'll hear plenty about that this morning. Oh, thank you for all the waves coming in. As I mentioned, coming up in just a few moments, we're going to be talking with Tony Pucci, the author of The Night of Joy, Night of Sorrow, part of that Michael Bishop mystery series. There's a few other things here about the Trump trial I want to get to. Is that where I want to go? Oh, first, I mentioned this last week, just quickly, and there's been some talk about Donald Trump's interview with Dr. Phil. I missed it, but they put together some of the highlights. Did you see how he went after Representative Adam Schiff? He said, I call him Watermelon Head. He's got the thinnest neck I've ever seen. How it holds up that head, he's got a neck that's about a size 6. Very unattractive guy, both inside and outside. People say, oh, that's such a terrible thing to say. That's okay. Very unattractive guy. Here's the thing. These are bad people, and it's not easy to deal with, when you have your kids involved or your family or your wife and you read stuff, and most of it is untrue. It's totally untrue. Another thing we learned from his interview, again, with Dr. Phil, did you happen to catch it? I'm sure you can find it elsewhere by now. At one point, Trump spoke about foreign countries sending their prisoners and undesirables to the United States. through the open border. The United States of America has become a dumping ground because of a very mentally deficient president, and it's not him. I don't believe it's him. I do think he knows what's going on. I think he's sort of an evil guy, and he's not at the top of his game, and he never was very good at it. If you look at his foreign policy for years and years and years, you look at how bad he was on the crime bill in the 1990s, how he's been bad at everything. He also said, we have people running our country who are grossly incompetent, headed up by a president who should never be there. I have a lot of lawyers that are friends, and this and that. I have probably 25 guys over the course of a couple of months say, whatever you do, don't testify, because you'll say something that's a little bit off, and you'll be indicted for lying, for perjury. These are evil people. These are sick, evil people. And then talking about revenge. Well, revenge does take time, and sometimes revenge can be justified, Phil. I have to be honest, sometimes it can. Oh, look at all these waves coming in. So that is from that interview with Dr. Phil. We got a couple things on the... Well, I've got a few things on VP, and I know I keep talking about it, and I don't want to run too late because I know I've got Tony Pucci coming up, so I don't know if I want to start a brand new topic. But the media is heavily covering maybe Marco Rubio being vice president. Now, Kristi Noem, she says it's okay she's not on the list, but she hopes that he picks a woman. Well, the only woman that we've seen on the list so far is Elise Stefanik. So do you have a favorite? I know I've been asking this a lot lately, but do you have a favorite, or are you just happy with whoever the former president picks as his VP? Where was it? This is what they say about Marco Rubio, and this is from Fox News. Democrats fear this possible Trump VP pick who could spell the end for Biden. Trump's campaign recently entered the next phase of running mate search. We know that. Rubio is a familiar face who has become one of the strongest voices in the Senate for the American First agenda, is excellent on TV, and can blast Biden effectively for his failed policies, said one top GOP strategist. Trump is doing very well with Latino voters, and the addition of Rubio would only strengthen that, which could spell the end for Biden, and that Rubio would be a solid, safe pick with a lot of upside. GOP strategist Matt Wolking, who served as deputy communications director for Trump's 2020 presidential campaign, described Rubio as an effective, disciplined communicator who rarely makes mistakes. He noted that Rubio was the only person under consideration who speaks another language, and that his ability to speak Spanish would help the Trump campaign reach Hispanic voters in many states where it could boost their competitiveness, including Nevada, New Mexico, Arizona, Virginia, New York, and Florida. While demonstrating his ability to win a slightly higher percentage of the white voters in 2022 than Trump did in Florida in 2020, he also appears to the suburban and independent voters that will be key to Trump's success and is the only contender from a true battleground state. Trump would balance out his ticket by picking Rubio for VP, which cannot be said for some other options. These reasons are why many Democrats fear the selection of Rubio the most. Wolking added that Rubio's experience as a leader on the Senate Intelligence Committee would be valuable for Trump to rein in rogue agencies. So what are your thoughts on Marco Rubio's name being thrown around? Now, this is from Fox News, but we've seen a lot of coverage of it in the mainstream media as well. Of course, Doug Burgum, J.D. Vance's name also thrown around, Tom Cotton, Tim Scott. I don't know if I necessarily have a favorite. I'm always a little cautious when the media starts praising someone. This is a different scenario, though, with Rubio because it is Fox News. But when you start to see kind of like we saw with Nikki Haley, oh, she's great. Why are you saying that, media? So that always makes me a little concerned. But I do like Marco Rubio. I think he's a good senator. Would he make a good VP pick for Donald Trump? You can weigh in at any time. But let's take our first break of the second hour of Frankly Speaking. And we'll be right back after this. Stay with us.
Attention, this is an important message for firefighters, members of the military, and airport workers. For decades, first responders and firefighters at military bases and airports used a chemical-based foam to fight fires. Studies have shown that chemicals used to make aqueous film-forming foam, or AFFF, are highly toxic to humans and have been associated with several types of cancer. If you or someone you know was diagnosed with any of those cancers, call now for a free case review.
Vehicles are in-house and on display with more on the way. If you're in the market for a new vehicle, visit Elm Chevrolet. Search Elm Chevrolet's entire new vehicle inventory at elmchevrolet.com. Together, let's drive.
Book Confident Venture and a accomplishment firmly in your hands with the Polaris Sportsman lineup. Get the most out of every day, pull off the toughest hauls, and keep charging on.
Ithaca Recreation Sports, Route 13 in Newfield. Get outside and ride.
You and tear your old statements and bills, but thieves use this information to steal your identity. Don't be a victim. Get the ID Police, the new ink roller that encrypts all your old documents. So before you throw it out, just roll it on, and your information is gone, both on the front and through the back. Even if the paper is held up to the light, even your medical information is safe with the ID Police. So block it out before you throw it out. Order now and get your ID Police for as low as $9.99 and get free shipping too. This offer is not available on Amazon, so call or click now to get your ID Police for as low as $9.99 with free shipping. Order now.
Call 1-800-898-1002. That's 1-800-898-1002 or visit getidpolice.com. So call 1-800-898-1002. Order now.
It's a season of sharing.
Having a good time has always been my #1 goal. I tend to get crazy. At my age, I should not be jumping up and down like that. And if you don't know what I mean, ask your mama. The young ones, y'all like, we don't know what you're talking about. But I promise you, in 30 years, you will.
It's the best time in daytime.
Weekdays at 2 p.m. on Big Fox.
And we are back. That's our beautiful view of Market Street as we broadcast live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. Back to what they were saying about Rubio. And this was kind of the question that I had about Marco Rubio. One source said, I'm not sure he's a 100% Trump guy. That's the one thing I would say, that he has not always been enthusiastic about Trump. I think that's the one area I would find could be a little troubling to the Trump faithful. That might be an issue. The other thing is the question of whether Rubio is the right person to carry the Republican colors in 2028 and beyond. I think he's a good man. Don't get me wrong. I think he's been a great senator and very effective. I think he'd be more than adequate vice president, but it just gives me pause to think about him as a potential candidate and whether he's a Trump faithful follower. That's what I was saying. I never really thought them to be overly friendly with each other. Now, J.D. Vance, Doug Burgum, and Tom Cotton responded to being on Trump's reported VP list. I've had some conversations with the Trump team, and I've actually not spoken about the vice presidential thing with the president directly, said Vance. Until I do, I sort of assume this is a lot of media speculation. I've got an important job for the people of Ohio, the United States Senate. That's what I'm focused on. Burgum struck a similar note, saying, well, I know this is a big interest to some folks that are following the process, but I would just defer any questions back to the Trump campaign team. I think only one person who knows who's on the short list, and that would be President Trump, Khan said. We'll make a choice when he's ready to make that choice. I'm confident he's going to make a good choice for the ticket and party, and more importantly, for the country. All right, who else is? Oh, Kristi Noem. I keep mentioning this. Kristi Noem's claim she doesn't even care. She doesn't care about not being on the VP list. I've told President Trump over and over again he needs to pick whoever helps him win. I've been loyal to him since the very beginning. I don't care. I love my job in South Dakota. I care about the fact that I want him to win. Several of the 7 people whose names been thrown around received paperwork to begin the vetting process. You've got Burgum, Rubio, Vance, Cotton, Scott, Donald, Stefanik, Carson. All the polls tell him, these swing states, that a woman on the ticket helps him win, said Noem. 1 in 4 Republican women haven't made up their minds because they want to have a woman talking to them about the issues. I want him to win, and the polling tells me that he needs a woman out of the campaign trail carrying his message. Now, that's interesting that she said that, saying that she doesn't care that she's not on the list. That would only leave Stefanik on the list that we've heard about. Again, it is Donald Trump. You never know at the end of the day who he'll actually pick. Noem said, I'm a mom and protecting my children from a vicious animal. People are put in tough situations in life, and we learn from it. Oh, weighing in, of course, she's going to be asked that question about killing her dog probably every time she's interviewed. But she believes it should be a woman. Do you have a preference on VP? By the way, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is on the Florida presidential ballot as a Reform Party candidate. We're thrilled to give Floridians an independent option this November. We've been eagerly waiting to collaborate with the Kennedy campaign here in Florida and make history together. Now that he has a party nomination, the party can raise an additional $41,300 from donors previously limited to $6,600 each. Ross Perot supporters founded the party, the Reform Party, back in 1996. The party said in the release it has spent $15 million on a ballot access operation to ensure Kennedy and Shanahan will appear on the ballots in all 50 states, plus the District of Columbia. So we had a lot of updates right there, didn't I? I just went through a lot. Trump. Oh, here's a comment from a viewer. Trump should pick General Flynn. He knows the depths of the Marxist Democrats and is loyal to Trump. Interesting. Have not seen his name thrown around. All right. Keep those suggestions for the president coming in. We got to take a short break because coming up next, we're going to be talking with Tony Pucci. Tony Pucci is the author, and I know I've talked about him a lot, of the Michael Bishop mystery series. They're a fun read. I hope that you'll have the opportunity to purchase the book and read it and let me know what you think. We're going to talk about the newest edition of the Michael Bishop mystery series, and that is Night of Joy, Night of Sorrow. So that's coming up after this quick commercial break. So stay with us. This is, oh, by the way, before we take a break, you can weigh in on who you would like to see as VP. Also, you could talk about the Trump probation officer meeting today. We can talk about Hunter's trial. So much more to get to, and not a lot of time to get there. So stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox will be right back.
Isn't your wellness important? Don't you want more energy? Now's the best time to make every day better and relieve those achy muscles and pains than with the Hesselson's Hot Tub. Hesselson's has hot tubs in stock and available for immediate delivery with unbelievable savings. Hesselson's offers 0% interest-free financing for up to 5 full years. Hesselson's carries the only hot tub brand in the industry with the exclusive freshwater salt system that is eco-friendly and easy to use and only enhances your hot tubbing experience. Come in today and see why your next hot tub should be a Hesselson's hot tub. And remember, it's always fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
Your wallet is always in danger. Criminals can hack your information without you even knowing. Introducing Slim Mint, an ultra-thin RFID blocking wallet that keeps your cards and cash protected. Slim Mint uses the latest RFID blocking technology to prevent thieves from stealing your info. It's ergonomically designed to optimize space and keep your belongings organized. With the auto-locking Slim Mint, your cards and money stay securely in place. It has a built-in cash clip and a flexible outer band to fit your additional cards and cash. Call or click now and get Slim Mint for just $29.99. Order in the next 5 minutes and you'll get an instant $10 discount. So it's only $19.99. But wait, due to rising costs, this may be your last chance to get Slim Mint at this low price. There's a strict limit of 3 Slim Mint wallets while supplies last. Don't wait, order now.
Call 1-800-654-6604. Call or visit slimmintwallet.com. So call 1-800-654-6604. Order now.
Getting real video for a commercial used to be extremely expensive, but not anymore. WYDC TV Big Fox now offers the Twin Tiers amazing aerial video for your business. We do it with our state-of-the-art drone and commercially licensed aerial pilot. Beautiful HD aerial video and pictures custom-made for your commercial. Call or email now to advertise on Big Fox TV and let everyone see your business in a whole new way.
Something with a diamond in it.
Diamondback rattlesnake.
It's in the name. Name a low-calorie food you might make your edible underwear out of.
Salmon.
Watch it weeknights. Share it the next day.
Wild caught Norwegian teriyaki.
Share in the fun. Weeknights on Family Feud.
7 and 7:30 on.
Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. We're broadcasting from the Hesselson studio, and this is the Steuben Senior Services Fund section of our program. And it's our friend, Tony Pucci. Tony, thanks so much for being on the show.
Well, thank you, Frank, for having me.
Boy, it's been, so I was trying to figure this out. It's probably been a little under a year, a little over a year since the last time you were on, because this book seems to have come out quicker than normal. Am I wrong?
It's just about a year.
Is it?
Yes.
That was always your goal, a book a year.
That's right.
Well, not always, right?
No, not 10 years ago.
No. And I was thinking about this, because this is number...
This is number 9.
Is this number 9 in the Michael Bishop mysteries?
Right.
But it's your
Right, and then it's the 10th book
overall
because of the nonfiction I did.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I would ask the question, but I think mathematically it says you would rather do nonfiction.
No,
you'd rather do fiction, I should say. Yeah, I screwed that up.
Right,
You'd rather do
mysteries.
fiction. Yeah, you must really enjoy, after doing this this many times, you must really enjoy writing the Michael Bishop story.
Well, it is engaging, and I find that once I start a book, then it's really part of me until it's done, and there's something valuable in that. I think it gives me a focus, it gives me purpose, and it's really sort of exciting to see where it's going to go.
Yeah.
Because as I've explained to you before, I really don't have it all plotted out, and I kind of work the story as I go.
Yeah.
And so it's sort of a mystery for me too.
Isn't that interesting?
To work it out.
Do you, because we talked about your process before, do you ever get caught into a trap where you realize maybe I can't spin my way out of this one, or get my way out of this one, or
not yet?
Not yet. Okay, knock on wood. Knock on wood. And I know I've said this before on the program, and I'm not just saying it because you're in the studio. I've said it when you weren't here. I love the Michael Bishop mystery series from the very beginning. Do you have a favorite, or do they all become your favorite?
Well, I would have to say that my favorite is always the most recent book.
Of course. You should be in politics.
I tried.
Well, what I love about this is, and I've said this before, it's a fun, for lack of a better word. I know there's normally murder involved, but it's a fun read. It's not overly taxing. You sit down, and before you know it, you've read so many chapters, and you're really into it.
Right. It's not. They're not very difficult reads, and there are lots of chapters, and then there are breaks within the chapter.
Right.
Because that's how I write. I'm writing in sort of short segments. Or I think of, okay, this scene or this conversation has to take place, and then I'll stop and I'll think about, well, what must happen next?
Yeah.
Where do I need to go? What thread do I need to pick up? And so. They're easy to read. I think anyone who's been to high school would relate to them in some way, because the amateur sleuth is a high school teacher, and so there are lots of situations involving the staff or the administration or students, and Michael Bishop, as the English teacher, weaves in some references to literature. And so I think there's some insights there. Beyond just the mystery, I think there are some lessons.
I agree.
There are some values that come through the books, and I think there's probably a consistency over the years in the kinds of things that I'm trying to say.
When I think it's neat that I get so invested in the characters themselves, which doesn't always work out in my best interest, without saying too much. But you do really get invested in as the story unfolds, and I think there is something. We've all been to high school, so there's something there that we can all relate to, at least in some way, I think.
Right, and they find themselves in very typical situations. Not that a murder is a typical situation, but there are other plot lines.
Yes.
In Michael Bishop's life, his personal relationships, and ups and downs in those relationships, and just being able to relate to some of those things. I think it's the kind of book that it appealed to a number of people.
Oh, I totally agree. Now, last time, and I don't like giving away any book, but it was interesting last time and the time before how the stories had to adapt for different reasons. So what can you tell us about this book without giving too much away?
Again, the books can be read independently.
Yes.
So you could just start
I'm glad
off.
you said that, because I read them out of order. I think I've said this every time you're on, but I want to say the first 3, maybe 4 out of order. And I caught something one time that triggered my mind, but it doesn't really, you don't need to go in order.
No, you don't need to go in order. You could pick up this book, Night of Joy, Night of Sorrow, and it's its own story.
Yes.
There's this incident that happens. He's got to figure out who did it, why, and it's self-contained.
Yeah.
But if you've read the other stories, then you're familiar with some of the other characters who are recurring characters. And that adds an element, I think, but it wouldn't detract from simply picking up any particular book and just reading that one independently.
And one thing and I think you alluded to it just a moment ago, you mentioned various books in the book sometimes where the students are learning at that time. And I find that really interesting because I think last time it led me to reread One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Right. So, and there's ones I probably should read that you mentioned that I haven't read, but I like that part to it because it's a way to tie everything together in a tight bow, almost in a way.
Well, when I mention those works of literature, there's a reason for it. It's not just a filler.
Right.
The discussion that the students are having, the reference to a book, whether it's a Scarlet Letter, for example, where, Roger Chillingworth is interested in getting revenge on this man who had an affair with his wife.
Yeah.
And in the story, we find out that the revenge he seeks actually not only destroys the man that he's trying to get, it destroys himself in the process.
Yeah.
So you learn something there, and then that theme relates to what's going on in the book.
Yeah.
That whoever committed that murder, if that was revenge, then they're actually hurting themselves in the process.
Are they all books that you taught, or do you sometimes just maybe a favorite book?
They're books that I've taught.
Yeah.
So I'm very familiar with them.
Yeah, I always wondered if it was something maybe you happened to be reading at that time, and you said that would work. I don't know.
Well, actually, I have Michael Bishop talk about books he's reading.
Right.
And he'll talk about, for example, the mystery novels of Donna Leon, who sets all her mystery novels in Venice.
Okay.
And there's this Inspector Brunetti. And I've read all of her books and enjoy them, and so I'll build that in that way.
I see. So a little bit of it's taken from your real life,
right?
Not too much, hopefully. Is it difficult to continue the series when? Well, I know there's been twists and turns and plots, and not in that way, but to try to keep the continuity to make sure. I think you mentioned last time you sometimes go back and reread maybe the last book.
Yes, to go back to make sure that there's some consistency, and I've certainly made mistakes, and it would be a wonderful challenge for someone to try to go through and compile.
One of your former students saying, "What about this?"
That'd be wonderful. Contact me, let me know. I'd be glad to correct it. But going back to make sure that dates are correct,
right.
And that that I'm using the names correctly and so on. I do like to go back and reread, especially because I'll take a break now.
Sure.
Won't start another one for a while. The next one will be 2025.
Right. Right.
So there'll be a break in between, and really. It's kind of interesting to go back and reread it because I'll find myself saying, well, I don't remember how I did that.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah. And sometimes some of these twists and turns and the ideas that I get are more like dreams that I'm not really fully sure of what's happening.
Sure.
But it just go where it goes.
When you're in the process of writing, because you say you take a little time off, is it pretty consistently on your mind trying to think of things that you want to put in the book?
It is, and that's a burden in a bit of a way.
Well, I'm sure.
That I'll write one segment, maybe I'll get 300 words a day or 500 words, whatever. But you can walk away from the laptop, but it's still there. Where do I go next? And it's always, and I think that's part of what helps make it happen is that it's in the back of my mind and it's sort of churning there.
Yeah.
And then when I sit down, then we'll figure out what happens.
Yeah, right. And we were joking that maybe one of your former students would look for mistakes, but when you talk to former students that read it, the reaction's always been great, right?
Yes, I think
they have their theories, though, don't they?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think they're happy that I'm doing something constructive in my retirement years.
Sure.
And I think they enjoy the references to the literature. I think they see some echoes of me and Michael Bishop.
Yeah, of course.
Probably looking for some echoes of themselves.
Yeah, right. That would be the fun of it, I'm sure. Now, you said, does it take typically the same amount of time for each book? I know some would a little bit different, but is this taken as long as the last one?
They do take about 6 months.
Okay.
Because they're all about 60,000 words.
Okay.
But then after that, after I've finished the text, then there's the revision.
Okay.
And then there's all the technical aspects of getting it uploaded to Amazon because they're self-published, and you have to do the paperback separately. You have to do the ebook differently because you have to put in the table of contents and
interesting.
Give people the opportunity to zip back and forth between chapters and so on. And so there's a lot involved there. And because I only do it once a year, it's always like almost new.
Yeah,
and I have to
of course.
figure it out.
Yeah.
And then as the author, I can get a proof copy because I'm just looking at it on a screen, and I'd rather have the book in my hands.
Yeah.
And so I go through the proof copy and I make corrections.
Yeah.
And then I get on the computer and hopefully make all the corrections that I want to make.
Sure.
And this time, I actually sent for a second proof copy.
Oh, really?
Because I wanted to be sure
Yeah.
that things, and I found more mistakes.
Oh,
I'm
sure.
Because I'm it.
Well,
There's no editor, there's no proofreader.
And you're so close to it, too.
Yeah.
How many times have we all typed up a sentence and it sounded good? Because in our head, we typed that "the" in there.
Yeah, exactly.
But, so that's
and you think you see it.
Yeah. Isn't that weird how that works?
And it's not there.
We're talking about Night of Joy, Night of Sorrow, the new Michael Bishop Mystery Series book. There it is. I'm like Johnny Carson putting up in front of the camera here. I'm not like Johnny. I shouldn't have said that. That's blasphemy. You were mentioning ebook. Do you find more people are buying an ebook now than hard copy?
There are a good number that do buy the ebook, especially because it's less expensive and it's easier. I know people read them on their phones. You can read them on a Kindle. You can read it on your computer, your laptop. Once you download it, you don't have to have a Kindle.
Right.
And you can put it on any device. They look a little different depending on what device you're reading it from. But the ebooks are popular. And actually, one of my readers, former students, actually contacted me recently and said, "Boy, I wish they were audiobooks."
Oh.
Because I've got this long commute every day, and I would love just to, listen. And I said, well, maybe that's an idea.
Yeah.
And I looked at Amazon at my account, and I'm actually able. The option is there to create an audiobook. And so I've started with book one.
Okay.
Creating an audiobook through artificial intelligence.
That's so creepy.
And so it's very interesting.
How does it sound?
Well, there are 8 voices that you can choose from.
All right.
And so once you've chosen a voice, then for me, the text appears.
Yeah.
And every word is highlighted as the speaker pronounces that word. And you can stop and adjust the pronunciation.
Interesting.
You can stop to adjust a pause. But it's not, it's artificial intelligence, so it's not perfect.
Right.
By any means. And so I've learned a lot about how to try to get that artificial speaker to say it the way I want them to say it.
Sure.
But it's certainly not quite equivalent to what a person would be able to do with it.
That's fascinating, the technology there. But now I've got to ask you kind of the current debate question, especially coming from a former teacher. Is an audiobook, is that cheating? You don't have to answer if you don't want to.
Well, personally, I've never listened to an audiobook.
Okay.
Let's put it that way.
Okay, all right. That's as far as we'll go with that. But we joke about your students thinking they may see themselves in this. Do you pull from real life, other than maybe you said there's maybe some hints of you? Do you pull from real people that you know when it comes to characters?
In some vague ways.
Mm-hmm.
You'd never be able to kind of say, well, this is this person, but there might be some little echo there somewhere. Sometimes it might even be subconscious on my part.
I'm sure.
But when I was doing I'm still in the process of doing that first audiobook. I'm actually in a sense, rereading the
taking
first
it back
book,
in.
which I haven't done for a long time, and I see how different it is and how much progression there's been now to this most recent book. There was no reference to Mayhem and Meanie in the first book.
Is that right?
The sisters,
the
Sister Anne and Sister Pat were in the book.
Yeah.
But hadn't gotten to the point of using that.
Being a main character, for lack of a better term.
Yeah. And there was no Max, Michael Bishop's little Jack Russell Terrier.
Yeah, well, well, there's reasons for that, though, right? If I'm not mistaken. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, because I think that's one of the reasons why when I read it out of order, that's one of the things I caught. But that is interesting to think. I would have thought that Mayhem and Meanie would have been a main character from the beginning.
Oh, they are.
They're in it, but not.
But that phrase wasn't used at the beginning.
Isn't that interesting?
It's really interesting to me to go back and look at that first book, and because that was supposed to be it.
Yeah,
just the one book, and I was going to be done with that, and then I kept moving along with it.
And you said, I know we talked about this last time. I'm going to put again up on the screen the books. You had said the one, what Murder on the Marginal Way, was that the one that's the most popular because of the connection with Marginal Way?
Right. That's the one that tends to sell the most because of the title. The Marginal Way is a very famous cliff walk in southern Maine in Ogunquit Beach, and a lot of people have been there. They're familiar with that area, and they buy the book just based on the title, and they enjoy it because there are a lot of local references.
Yeah.
Oh, and that was something that I wanted to mention too, that I noticed from the first book. I called the town where he teaches Groveland, because I didn't want it to be too obviously, this is Elmira,
right, of course,
and so on. And so I've kept the Groveland throughout because you can't really change that. But what I have done in succeeding books, I've made more and more local references.
Yeah.
So when you go to this current book, Night of Joy, Night of Sorrow, when Michael Bishop goes to a restaurant, I'll be naming restaurants.
Yeah, I've
locally.
noticed that, and that wasn't the case in the very beginning.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah,
it wasn't.
Because it was almost like I was looking for it to see if there's that connection, and I remember early on that there wasn't. And then when you saw something that was I go, oh my goodness, that made cut. Yeah.
And I probably should have done that from the beginning.
Yeah,
but you learn.
You grow.
You learn as you go.
That's it. So where's the best place to buy the book? I know you have a new website, AnthonyJPucci.com. Can you buy it on there, or should you go to Amazon?
Well, if you wanted to buy directly from me and get a signed copy, you could contact me at AnthonyJPucci.com.
Okay.
There's a place to do that. You can also email me at michaelbishopmysteries@gmail.com. But if you want to buy the book or the ebook or hopefully the audio
sure.
they're on Amazon.
Okay.
And actually signed copies of all of the books are at Millport Landing on Route 14.
And so they have every copy?
They have copies of all 10 books.
Oh, okay. So someone gets done with this and they say, I should have been doing this from the beginning. They can rush there and buy all the rest of the books.
They can.
That's great.
They can. And Margie Hoy, who is the proprietor, she's a wonderful lady. And it's a very interesting shop that she has, full of all kinds of interesting things and crafts and antiques and so on. she always lets me know, well, we've run out of this book, we need
Oh, and-
more, and
yeah.
I can just run down and bring her more copies.
Oh, that's great. So find out more at AnthonyJPucci.com. I know it's obligatory for me to ask you this. What are you working on next? When's the next copy coming out? 2025?
Yes.
Okay. So right now you're taking a break
I
because
am.
this is pretty much fresh off the presses.
Right, and what I'm doing now, the audio book is taking an enormous amount of time.
Oh, I'm sure.
I really wasn't expecting that, but when you think about it, I have to listen and to every word and stop and try to manipulate that pronunciation.
Well, because I was even thinking about it when you've got your GPS and it'll say something like Elmira or something like that. So there are a lot of unique words around here.
Yeah. Well, and there are some things that you just can't change. You really can't change the emphasis on the syllables,
Okay,
as one of
yes.
my colleagues used to say.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, like in book one, which I'm doing, there's Coach Zappala, who's the victim, and the artificial intelligence is not quite saying Zappala, but I got it to be closer.
Yeah.
And then once you get it, you can say apply it to all
that's
uses
nice.
of that word.
Yeah.
All
that's
300
interesting.
uses of
Yeah.
that. So you can do that.
Amazing.
But there were some other simple things like the article, it would say a, like a hat instead of a hat.
Yeah.
And so I have to go in and type UH.
That's so tedious, though.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
So, and that's how I would get the sound I want.
Wow.
To do it phonetically.
So I'm guessing this is going to take you a while to get through all 10.
Oh, it's going to take a long time. Yeah, one at a time.
But find out more again at AnthonyJPucci.com. Well, let's book it for next year. All right?
Sounds
Does
good.
that sound good? Thanks
Sounds
for the
good.
copy. I can't wait to read it, and I can't wait to email you afterwards and have the back and forth
Okay,
and get the
good.
real scoop.
Good enough.
All right. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big 5.
Stock up for summer and save at GCP Discount Liquors and Wines. A High Noon Vodka Seltzer Variety Pack, regularly $26.99, is on sale for $24.99. Final cost $19.99 after mail-in rebate. Kim Crawford Sauvignon Blanc or Rosé, normally $15.99, is now $12.99. Save up to $48 on a case with rebate. That's $8.99 a bottle after rebate. GCP Discount Liquors and Wines in Horseheads. The best in service, selection, and price.
You learn that there are no shortcuts in racing or in life, so it's no surprise that there aren't any when it comes to hair loss either. One of my first attempts to deal with my own hair loss was a literal shortcut. Thankfully, my wife found Hair Club. I thought that nobody could understand how mortified I was to be losing my hair. So you can imagine how relieving it was to know that Hair Club's experts have already helped so many people with their hair loss. I was shocked that Hair Club had virtually every solution possible. If I had known about Hair Club sooner, I never would have tried any of those overhyped advertised solutions.
With over 120 locations, Hair Club is North America's largest provider of complete hair loss solutions. Whether you choose surgical, non-surgical, or restorative solutions, Hair Club has you covered.
If you're determined to get your hair back and live the life you deserve, just call Hair Club. You can get your own free personalized consultation with a hair loss expert and be on your way to the finish line in no time.
Scan the code on your screen now to schedule a free consultation and save 20% on select solutions using promo code Frankie.
Shell Missy face off in
Why can't we watch DuckTales? Because we don't learn anything.
Book Smarts versus Street Smarts.
Is it working? Are you feeling motivated? Very.
It's the battle of twins.
Life is so confusing. I always hoped it would be easier for me when I grew up. It's gonna be all right. You were faking. Bazinga.
Young Sheldon.
Weeknights at 6:30 on Big 5.
And we are back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox. We have a lot of comments to read from you, the viewer, and I want to thank Tony Pucci for being our guest talking about the Night of Joy, Night of Sorrow. Our first comment from a viewer. Tony Pucci may have given me the nudge I need to pick up a book again. Can you read them out of order? Nice to meet him. Yes, you can. I actually read the first 3, I believe, out of order, maybe the first 4. And there's a couple of little things you might pick up on, but overall, you're fine. Read them in any order you like. But I love them. I just started Night of Joy, Night of Sorrow on, I think, Saturday, and I got through a couple chapters. And as always, it's tough to put down. They're fun reads. Next comment. Good idea, General Flynn. Also, fits good on a sign. Yes, some people were suggesting that Flynn could be picked for VP. In my opinion, this is a different comment from a different viewer. In my opinion, it shouldn't matter, man or woman, rather loyal, focused, and above all, trustworthy. This is the one area that Trump has trouble with, judging character. And I'm still let down after Pence showed his true colors. And final comment, before we take another break and play a little catch up here, I'm still not convinced we have heard the name yet. I agree with the viewer that Flynn would be interesting. Yeah, I'm of that camp too, where I'm not positive we do know who the person is going to be. Yes, we've heard about the short list, but that's not to say with Trump, you never know when he could really pull someone from really out of nowhere. But a lot of Flynn's suggestions this morning. If you're just tuning in, we were asking you the question, who do you think Trump will pick as VP? There's been a lot of conversation. Now, he's not going to make the announcement until the convention, but there's been a lot of speculation and a lot of talk about who's been receiving the vetting papers, and that's what this all boils down to. We've got a few things here about Trump's lawsuits, or Trump's trials, I should say. Earlier in the program, if you missed the 6 o'clock hour, we were asking the question, do you think former Governor Cuomo can make a comeback? There's been a lot of speculation as of late because he's been giving speeches, doing interviews, writing op-eds. A lot of speculation that he may run for mayor of New York, but some, as that piece this morning that we had, speculating that he may run for governor yet again, with the 3 names being Hochul, Letitia James, and Cuomo being considered as potential candidates in 2026. Now, Victor Davis Hanson, well, no, we got to take a short break. Then we'll tell you what Victor Davis Hanson had to say. So stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox.
Wow. You found it.
I did.
The History of Water Part 6? I've been dying to read this.
I know, honey.
I always wanted that book.
At Culligan, we get that most people don't think about water like we do, and that's okay. You see, when we install one of our high-efficiency water softeners, we're thinking about hard water and limescale buildup, so you can just think about longer-lasting appliances and softer skin and hair. At Culligan, we think about your water, so you don't have to.
Call today to schedule your free water test.
I'm married. I've lived here for 70 years, but I do fine right here in my house, and I want to be here as long as I can be. And I feel comfortable knowing that if something happened to me, someone would know because of the cameras that are installed in various spots in my home. That has been a wonderful gift to me, to be able to have that security and that support from Full Circle America, and that's what it's all about.
The Fox Sports app isn't just any sports app. It's your sports app. Yeah, yours. Your teams. Your highlights. Your scores. Your stories. Just choose your favorites to get more of what you want. To the end zone! And of course, stream your teams live. The best part is free with your pay TV subscription.
And we are back, our beautiful view overlooking Market Street as we broadcast live from the Hesselson studio. Thank you so much for joining us. So Victor Davis Hanson says that the Democrats and the media fool no one. The 5 criminal and civil prosecutions of former President Trump all prompt heated denials from Democrats that President Biden and Democrat operatives had a role in any of them. But Biden has long let it be known that he was frustrated with his own Justice Department's federal prosecutors for their tardiness in indicting Trump. Biden was upset because any delay might mean that his rival Trump would not be in federal court during the 2024 election cycle. And that would mean he would not get his tag convicted felon that we talked so much about. We had a great conversation last week with former Congressman Joe Sempolinski, who made the point that was the whole goal of this trial. Politico has long prided itself on its supposed insider knowledge of the workings of the Biden administration. Note that it reported this February that a frustrated Joe Biden has grumbled to aides and advisors that the Attorney General Merrick Garland moved sooner in his investigation into Trump and the election interference. A trial may already be underway or even have concluded if he would have moved earlier. If there were any doubts about the Biden administration's efforts to force Trump into court before November, Politico further dispelled it, even as it blamed Trump for Biden's anger at Garland. The trial still could take place before the election, and much of the delay is owed not to Garland, but to deliberate resistance put up by the former president and his team. Note in passing how a presidential candidate's legal right to oppose a politicized indictment months before an election by his opponent's federal attorneys is smeared by Politico as deliberate resistance. Given Politico was publicly reporting 6 months ago about Biden's anger at the pace of his DOJ's prosecution of Trump, does anyone believe his special counsel, Jack Smith, was not aware of such presidential displeasure and pressure? Note, Smith had petitioned and was denied an unusual request to the court to speed up the course of his Trump indictment. And why would Biden's own Attorney General Garland select such an obvious partisan as Smith? Remember, in the last tenure as special counsel, Smith had gone after popular Republican and conservative Virginia Governor Bob McDonnell. Now, I don't want to get into all of this, but so it's past time for the media, is what Victor Davis Hanson said, and the Democrats to drop the ridiculous ruse of Biden's White House neutrality. Instead, they should admit that they are terrified of the will of the people in November and so are conniving to silence them. I thought that was a good point. That's why they're silencing you. You can't question these trials. They're impeccable. We've got to take another short break. There's a couple things. Oh, did you see that? This is the sort of article the media loves. This coming from the Mirror. Prison bosses are preparing to house Donald Trump if he's sentenced to jail following convictions. And I know I've asked this question. We talked about it with Joe Sempolinski last week. What do you think the ultimate charges will be? Now, it's not coming up until, when is it? July 11th, 4 days before the convention. But what is your overall prediction? Do you believe that Trump will go to jail, be under house arrest, or probation? Trump is set to be sentenced on July 11th after being found guilty of 34 felony counts last month. Prison bosses are preparing to house Donald Trump if he is sentenced to jail following his hush money conviction. Several facilities have been identified that could offer the former president a cell while keeping him safe. Trump is set to be sentenced on July 11th, as I mentioned. If it left U.S. legal commentators who previously argued he would receive probation or home confinement believe prison is now possible. Wow. Well, I don't think anything's off limits. I think the judge has shown this is a highly political trial. And I know that many want him to be at Rikers. That has been who was it? Whoopi Goldberg on The View, I think it was, laughing at the thought of him at Rikers. Most high-profile detainees are housed in its VIP West facility. It is mainly empty, and detainees placed there, such as former Trump Organization CFO Alan Weisenberg, are typically given their own cells away from other people locked up. Another alternative is a private room inside Bellevue Hospital Prison Ward on a floor away from all other detainees. This was once used to house Harvey Weinstein. A source told the Mirror possible locations where Trump would be held were looked at when he continually broke his gag order, and the trial judge threatened him with jail. The two locations that could ensure his safety are Rikers West facility and Bellevue's 19th floor, run by the Corrections Department. So there you are. They're giddy. Those in the media giddy, thinking of the president in prison. We got to take our last break. Wrapping up today's edition of Frankly Speaking, so stay with us. A little time left together.
Was your premature baby fed a cow's milk baby formula such as Similac or Enfamil? If so, your child may be entitled to significant financial compensation. Evidence shows that cow's milk formulas increase the risk of NEC in premature babies, causing severe harm and even death. If your child was born premature and suffers from NEC, intestinal perforations, sepsis, cerebral palsy, or died as a result, you may have the right to sue for significant financial compensation. Call now for a free case review.
What could whiten your teeth by simply brushing your teeth? Now you can with Smile Actives, the teeth whitening breakthrough that safely gets your teeth white and keeps them white every day just by brushing your teeth. Simply add Smile Actives to any toothpaste and our patented PolyClean technology activates into a powerful microfoam that penetrates into the enamel surface to safely lift and remove stains.
You need a simple way to whiten your teeth. Without strips, without trays, without going to the dentist.
I eat the blueberries, I drink the coffee, and I know that Smile Actives will keep my teeth white every day.
Now you can whiten your teeth with new Smile Actives Pro Whitening Gel every time you brush your teeth. Call or go to smileactives.com and for a limited time get new Pro Whitening Gel for just $24.95. Order in the next 5 minutes and buy one, get one absolutely free. We'll even include free shipping. Call or click now before the special buy one, get one free offer goes away.
And we are back with Frankly Speaking, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. We got a comment from a viewer. Cuomo needs to join Hillary. Sip on Manhattans and disappear. Cuomo has some type of delusion of grandeur. He's going to run for something. What it is, it's only a matter of time. I don't think anybody is saying if. I think it's when he runs for something. Did you see AOC is fretting that Donald Trump would throw her in jail if he wins? I mean, it sounds nuts, but I wouldn't be surprised if this guy threw me in jail. He's out of his mind. I mean, he did his whole first campaign around lock her up. This is his motto. I take him at his word when he says he's going to round people up. I take him at his word when he threatens journalists. I take him at his word. I feel like what we saw in his first presidency, he has learned from his mistakes of appointing professionals, and he will not make that mistake next time. Number one, they're wrong, said Trump about locking people up. It has to stop because otherwise we're not going to have a country. Look, when this election is over, based on what they've done, I would have every right to go after them, and it's easy. Because it's Joe Biden and you see all the criminality, all the money that's going into his family and him, all of his money from China, from Russia, from Ukraine. Yeah, he has made it very crystal clear that he's not going to go after his opponents. But that's, as we mentioned it last week, that's all the media wants to focus on is retribution, revenge. What will he do? Well, as we had that piece last week from the New York Post said, if he were to do that, there's no one to blame but the people that went after him with this political prosecution. He did hold his first rally since the New York conviction. It was in Las Vegas. Thousands of people joined him. We're going to knock off the Biden crime family. It's a Biden family of crime, including the fact that they've weaponized the Department of Justice like has never happened in this country, said Trump. We're going to end the weak and failed regime of crooked Joe Biden, the worst president in the history of our country, and we're going to make America great again. Under Biden, the invasion is just a disaster. In 4 years, crooked Joe has imported more people than any other time in our history. They're changing the country's fabric. They're destroying our country. Big crowd. I guess it was very hot there. They had some health issues of someone in the audience. If Trump goes to prison, he'll need Secret Service. Yeah, I see what you're going to say there. Yes, there will necessarily be Secret Service at the prison. That's what has already been stated. One last thing. Did you see what Trump... Oh, man, I'm out of time. Did you see what Trump had to say when he was in Nevada? What a perfect place to say this in Las Vegas. So this is the first time I've said this. And for those hotel workers and people that get tips, you're going to be very happy. Because when I get to office, we're going to not charge taxes on tips. People making tips. Talk about a good city to say that. And if anybody's ever been to Vegas, you know you tip for everything. Well, that is it for today's edition of Frankly Speaking. Tomorrow on the program, we're going to be talking with Malia Vandenberg. She is the Public Health Education Coordinator for Steuben County Public Health. We're going to be talking to her on the program. Thank you to Tony Pucci, the author of the new Michael Bishop Mystery Series book, Night of Joy, Night of Sorrow. So far, highly recommended. I really very much enjoy it so far. I'm not finished with it yet. I just started on Saturday, but I very much like it. And Tony does a great job with those Michael Bishop Mystery Series books, and we thank him for spending so much time with us this morning. And I thank you for spending time with us this morning. This has been Frankly Speaking on WYDC TV. Big Fox, have a great day, and we will see you tomorrow morning, bright and early at 6 a.m. I look forward to it already.
Getting aerial video for a commercial used to be extremely expensive, but not anymore. WYDC TV Big Fox now offers the Twin Tiers amazing aerial video for your business.